And good morning everyone, David Salomon here from Live Streaming Studio. Great to have you on board today. I'm talking about tips for live streaming, particularly from the Facebook ecosystem, but it's actually to do with all of them. And I've got a little bit of feedback happening somewhere here, and I just want to find out where that's coming from. I'm going to close down that one there, and here we go. So, sorry about that. As I was saying before, one of the first tips is to get as much of the things that you need to remember to do during a live stream out of your head and onto some paper, so that you've got a list to work through, because one of the big challenges is if you're doing this on your own as a one-man band or a one-woman band, as you're likely to be doing at some stage, if you're going from your iPhone or smartphone, that's pretty easy to do. There's very little technology involved. It's just a matter of clicking some buttons, and it's a fantastic setup. When you move to the next level and you want to stream from your PC or Mac, and use some more sophisticated graphics, or maybe include some shots or video that you've recorded at a different time. You can't do that so easily on the phone, though I will be showing you how to do some of that later on in a later broadcast. It's an iPhone only system, and it's part of the Mimo Live ecosystem. So stay tuned for that at a later date. As I say, one of the big things is to be able to separate the things that you need to remember to do to make the hardware work or the software work, that is the technical stuff, to separate that from the actual message that you're wanting to put across. Because our brains work in such a way that you can't actually be thinking about technical things and creative things at the same time. However, in the same way that we learn to drive a car and we don't have to be thinking about every action, of accelerator or brake or clutch or watching the speedo or whatever it is, we do get to a place of familiarity, having learnt it to a stage where we can do that on automatic. That will happen at some stage when you're doing live streaming as well, though there's a lot more to take account of. And in the early stages, you need to be able to have a place to practice and to get that familiarity. And one of the absolute best ways I find is to get as much out of your head onto paper, or to use a checklist or a cheat sheet, something like that, so that you then can concentrate on the message that you want to put across. So I've put together a sheet of tips, and we're looking through the first tip today. I've broken it down into 5 sections. Now, who is this for, this broadcast? Well, it's for anyone who's just starting or who's starting a sideline and want to use social media, or particularly Facebook. The system that I'm suggesting is that you'll be using a number of social networks integrated in a way that optimizes your efforts there. And we're going to step through it step by step, so that you can really get the benefit of the knowledge, not just in one system, but using it across a number of different platforms. So that's who it's for. If you're a sole practitioner, you have a small business, if you're in arts or health or education business, then these applications are particularly for you. And in a previous video, I spoke about the need or otherwise for a website. Now, it's possible to start this system that I'm talking about now with simply Facebook and a message system, a chatbot system. Again, a subject that I will go into further detail at another time. But the question was really about, do you need a fully fledged website, or can a tiny website That is to say, a one-page or one-page plus blog website do what you need it to do as a small business. And I think in many situations there's really not the value in going for a fully fledged website unless you're doing e-commerce, something like that, and you have a lot of information that needs to be categorized and shown to your prospective clients or customers. So if you're going for the tiny website, that can be done very easily using something like, well, I use RapidWeaver for Mac. You can use WordPress, of course, regardless of which platform you use. Somewhat more complicated to learn, but a fantastic system when you get to know it. Or you can use one of the cloud services like Squarespace or Wix, or you see ads for all sorts of different ones. As I said, I use a RapidWeaver for Mac. I've been with that for, well, since they started it, probably over 10 years now, and found it really good because you have the project files always at your fingertips, and in a very straightforward drag and drop sort of interface. So it's very easy to learn, and very easy to use, and also very powerful. In fact, I'm just about to, in the next few weeks, start a brand new website for a client that needs to be in 3 different languages. So all that will be done in RapidWeaver. But that's really part of the high-level conversation, and at the moment we're looking at the simple solutions of really how do you get started. So tip number 1 for live streaming: promote your broadcast beforehand. Now, obviously your viewers need to know in a busy calendar when your live stream is going to happen. And if you're able to use some sort of a system, so that a message is sent to subscribers, or some sort of a notification, that's going to help you get started. Now, there's a problem for YouTube users here in that there is a what do you call it? A minimum number of subscribers required before notifications are going to go out with your live stream. That makes it enormously difficult for when you're starting up to build your community in the first instance. So it makes for a very slow start. On the other hand, on the Facebook platform, it has a different approach. It's really good for growing community. Not so good if your community wants to use a search term to find out some information that you've put in before. But one of the things I am advocating is the use of Facebook Live connected with messaging system to get started, and it's going to be much quicker than on YouTube, but you can use both, and in fact that's what I see as being the most powerful way to go about it. So that you're using you're using your growth tools on Facebook, and you're making it available to your search queries on YouTube. Best of both worlds. And then with your blog, of course, you can draw all that together. Now, so using Facebook is really essential in the first instance to let people know when you're going to be broadcasting. Using images in your invitation post, using something like Canva to let people know. Now, you can, of course, run teaser videos on Facebook that then will feed over to your YouTube channel. I haven't tried all the variations on this, so part of it is theoretical about what actually works in practice, but I know that some of the big concerns who have who have big followings in YouTube use this sort of approach very successfully. Second one is to, if you're using the Facebook platform in conjunction with YouTube, to use the Messenger system to send alerts to your subscriber base on Messenger that you're about to go live. Now, this is one of the really powerful things that you can do with Facebook. And I use a service called ManyChat. I'm not affiliated with them, but I love their product. You could also use Chatfuel, or there's in fact quite a number of services that you can use. I really like the drag and drop and the graphic user interface that ManyChat provides, as well as the growth tools, the capacity to send broadcasts and so on, as well as sequences. So everything that we once thought of as being part of an autoresponder for emails can now be done within Messenger. I'll say that again. All the powerful things that we could do with email in terms of sequenced messages going out over a period of time, email marketing, newslettering, all those sorts of things can now be done with Messenger. And as our inbox in email gets more and more cluttered, people are enjoying using Messenger because it's much simpler to write a message than it is to write an email, or read one for that matter. Though, of course, there is still the concern that we're going to get spam, or, I've found it already that there's a lot of messages come into me. I don't know where they're coming from, but they go straight onto my blocked list. And, I'm very conscious that we don't want to make this another burdensome thing for users. And Facebook also are doing this by stipulating that once someone sends a message, you only have 24 hours before you can reply with a promotion to that. That is to say, every conversation that happens with someone on Messenger needs to be done with explicit permission and consent given for that conversation. Otherwise, there's only a short amount of time that you're able to respond to a message conversation. So I'm confident at this stage that we're going to do it better with Messenger, and in a more streamlined and purposeful way, in the sense of that we're going to be getting the messages that we want, rather than be burdened with a whole lot of junk mail. So YouTube at this stage doesn't offer a service like that. Of course, we can duplicate that sort of system in email, but it means that you have to step out of the YouTube environment, to send a message. Whereas in Facebook, of course, that doesn't happen. Next point on my tips list is that, of course, you can also use paid ads on Facebook to build your audience, and with those notices or promotions of your live stream, you can advertise that to people who like your page, or people who have similar interests to the people who like your page. Now, of course, we've seen major changes in the Facebook algorithm of late, and very few messages get beyond our circle of friends and family unless they have paid advertising. The exception, though, is Facebook live streams. So, that we're in a time now where, there's a great advantage to be sending live streams that is not likely to remain free, for a long time. But right now, it's easy for, as I say, people who are just starting a new business or starting a sideline without a need for a great investment on that. If you're doing those teaser videos on Facebook, you can also schedule your posts or schedule your live streams so that your audience gets a notification that there's an event coming up or a live stream coming up and or a scheduled video coming up that they can prepare for. And that, I think is really useful. And of course, if people don't want to get those notifications, they can turn them off. So it puts the user back in control of the correspondence that they need to deal with. And finally, do use those systems outside of your YouTube and Facebook channels, that is to say your blog readers, your subscribers, your other networks, pages, groups and events, and let them know in advance as well that you've got your live stream coming up. And really important to establish a routine, a particular time, and while it might take some practice and some experimentation to find out what the optimum time is for your broadcast, it is certainly a goal that is worth developing, a goal that's worth working towards, because the more predictability and the better preparation, the more your live stream is likely to become part of the routine of your viewership. So that's it for today. Other than to say, there is a freebie, a sheet available with the 5 tips that actually break down into about 37 or so sub-tips, and you can get that by following the links in the description. So I'm David Salomon. I'm going to just throw this one up here. Thanks for joining me, and this has been Tips for a Better Facebook Live Broadcast. Applies also many of those tips to your YouTube, Instagram and other channels as well. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.